In May 1986, three ordinary men walked into a flooded basement beneath a melting nuclear reactor. The water around their knees was radioactive. The darkness was total. And if they failed, half of Europe would become uninhabitable for 500,000 years. Nobody forced them. Nobody made them go. They just went. This is the story of Alexei Ananenko, Valery Bezpalov, and Boris Baranov. Three men the world almost forgot. Three men who saved it anyway. To understand what they did, you have to understand what Chernobyl actually was. April 26, 1986. Pripyat, Ukraine. At 1:23 in the morning, reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant experienced a catastrophic meltdown. Two explosions tore the reactor apart. The roof blew off. Radioactive fire shot into the night sky, and a cloud of deadly nuclear material began drifting across Europe. Firefighters rushed in. They pumped water into the burning reactor, trying to control the blaze. What they didn't realize was that all that water was collecting in the basement directly beneath the melting core. 20 million liters of it, contaminated, superheated, and rising. Scientists ran the numbers, and what they found terrified them. If the molten reactor core made contact with that water, the resulting steam explosion would be unlike anything in history. It would destroy the remaining 3 reactors at Chernobyl. It would blast radioactive material across all of Europe. Parts of the continent would be uninhabitable for 500,000 years. There was only one way to stop it. Someone had to go down there, into the flooded basement, beneath the melting core, and manually open the drainage valves to release the water. The problem? Nobody knew exactly how much radiation was down there. Nobody knew if the suits would hold. And nobody was coming back out to tell you if they didn't. Wait, before I continue, try this. There's a new feature on the like button below this video. Go ahead, tap it and watch what happens. Yeah, you just brought something good your way. Now here's the real part. Share this with someone, and tomorrow someone will surprise you with a gift. Don't overthink it. Just try it. Now stay with me, because this is where it gets extraordinary. Alexei Ananenko was a mechanical engineer at the plant. He knew the layout of that basement better than almost anyone. When they called him and told him what needed to be done, he didn't hesitate. He called Boris Baranov, the shift supervisor, then asked for one more man because 2 valves needed opening simultaneously. Valery Bezpalov stepped forward. 3 men, 2 valves, 1 chance. They were not seasoned heroes of lore. They were ordinary men, engineers and workers at the plant, who found themselves standing at the edge of a potentially global catastrophe. They put on wetsuits, strapped dosimeters to their chests and ankles to measure radiation exposure, grabbed flashlights, and walked in. The basement was pitch black. The water reached their knees. Debris floated around them. Every step forward was a step deeper into contaminated water that their suits were not fully designed to handle. They moved fast. They followed pipes through the darkness until Ananenko's flashlight caught a valve. Then another. They turned them. 20 million liters of radioactive water began to drain. When the beam of light fell on the pipe, they were joyous. They heard the rush of water leaving the tank, and in a few more minutes, they were being embraced by their colleagues. The world expected them to die. The Soviet government expected them to die. Even they expected they might die. But here is what nobody tells you. They didn't. Amazingly, all 3 men survived long-term following the mission, narrowly escaping the acute radiation syndrome that killed other Chernobyl workers. Ananenko developed black spots on his legs from radiation exposure, what he casually called his radioactive tan. They kept setting off radiation alarms no matter how many times they showered. But they were alive. Boris Baranov lived until 2005, when he passed away from a heart condition unrelated to radiation. In 2018, all three men were awarded the Order for Courage by Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. Ananenko and Bezpalov received theirs in person. Baranov's was awarded posthumously. For over 30 years, the Soviet government buried their story, downplayed it, hid it. Most people still don't know their names. Think about that for a moment. Three men walked into radioactive darkness so that hundreds of millions of people could go about their lives without ever knowing their names, without ever saying thank you, without ever knowing how close it came. Alexei Ananenko said it best himself. When asked why he did it, he simply said they couldn't have sent anyone else. And in that position, he could hardly have said no. Not a hero speech, not a dramatic declaration, just a quiet man who knew what had to be done and did it. That is what real courage looks like. Not loud, not celebrated, just necessary. Subscribe for more stories like this every week. Stories of real people who did impossible things when the world needed them most. Drop a comment below. Did you know these three men's names before today? I read every single one. See you in the next one.